how much money should you put into Facebook ads to grow your contracting business? The truth is there's not a simple answer. It's not like I can just tell you, Joe, put $20 a day into your ads and you're gonna be fine, because it depends on a couple of different things, which I'm gonna cover off in this video right now. So the first thing it's gonna depend on is, what is the goal? The reason it depends on the goal is because if your goal is to book $300,000 a month, you're gonna need to put more than if you wanna book $30,000 a month. So let's just run with the goal of booking $30,000, because the other truth is that you probably couldn't handle an extra $300,000 a month worth of work, but you might be able to handle an extra 30. So that's the first thing it depends on, is what is the goal. The second thing it's gonna depend on is your business, okay? Now, the reason why I say that is because there's a couple of different numbers we're gonna look at, but it depends on your business, because if your average job size, let's say you're a painting company, right? If your average job is going to be, let's say it's 3,000, what that would mean is that in order to book $30,000 worth of work with a $3,000 average job size, that means that you would need to book 10 jobs, okay, 10 jobs. On the other hand, if your average job size was 6,000, right, that means you only need to book 5 jobs, okay? So it depends on what your business actually looks like, right? And it's the same thing, like maybe you're a general contractor and your average job is $50,000. Well, you know, you don't even, like, that's not even one job there. So it's gonna depend how much you spend, okay? And we're gonna continue down this line to figure out, okay, if we wanna book 30,000 and our average job size is 3,000, how much would we wanna be spending? But there's some more numbers we need to know. So what we're doing is we're reverse engineering. So the first thing is the goal. Then it's how many jobs. So we need to book 10 jobs. Now, in order for us to book 10 jobs, we need to figure out how many bids we need to do. Now, if we book 1 out of every 2 bids that we do, so we go to an estimate, we give them a bid, they say yes, we go to the next one, they say no, we go to the next one, yes, the next one, no, that would be a 50% booking rate, win rate, whatever you want to call it. So if our booking rate is what I call it, is, let's say, 50%, okay? If our booking rate is 50%, well, I could do this math, then that means that in order to get 10 jobs, we're going to need to do 20 estimates. I'm gonna go 20 bids, okay? These words are pretty interchangeable. So now we're at the bids. So now here's where Facebook actually starts to come into play, okay? So the first number that we're gonna wanna look at in terms of Facebook, and I'll switch to blue here, but the first number that we're gonna wanna look at is actually what is the lead to estimate ratio. What this simply means is how many of the leads that you get turn into an estimate or into a bid, okay? Because let's just say, for example, our lead to estimate ratio is 25%. Now, if our lead to estimate ratio is 25%, that means that in order to get 20 bids, we would need to generate 20, 40, 60, 80 leads. Okay, and this is why I can't just tell you it's 20 bucks a day, because it's gonna depend on what is the goal, what is your average job size, what is your booking rate, what is your lead to estimate ratio, and then finally, what is your cost per lead. Now, 25%, pretty solid in terms of lead to estimate ratio. Now, your cost per lead, it just depends so much on the kind of business. It depends on how good your ads are. And if you go into the ads training, which if you haven't unlocked, just book a call with my team. We'll help you come up with a game plan and help you figure out whether or not you're ready. Because, you know, if these numbers aren't right for you, if this booking rate is like 15 or 10%, or, you know, there's so many factors, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense to run ads. But what we've seen is that this really depends on the quality of your ads more than anything else, okay? But let's just say, for example, that our cost per lead was $25, okay, through Facebook. So that would be 25 times 80, which is $2,000. We'll say there's 30 days in a month, and that would be 67 per day. Okay, I'm gonna throw some money signs there. Per month, or $67 per day. So this is why you can't just answer the question simply, yeah, you just spend 20 bucks a day. But it's actually not that hard to figure out. Now, I know I've gone through a bunch of different numbers here, but let me just kind of wrap this up for you. Simply put, all we're doing to figure out how much we want to spend each day on ads is we're looking at what's our goal, divide that by your average job size, which is just how much you did in sales last year, divided by the number of jobs. That'll give you your average, right? $3,000. So we're figuring out how many jobs we need. Then we're figuring out, okay, in order to book 10 jobs, how many bids would we actually need to do? Which depends on how good we are at sales. So if we book half of the bids that we go to, that means that in order to book 10 jobs, we need to get 20 bids. Now, in order to get 20 bids, we need to look at our ads and how many of the leads that we're getting are turning into bids. Now, if 25% of the leads that we get turn into bids, then that means that in order to do 20 estimates, 20 bids, we would need to get 80 leads, because 1 in 4 are going to turn into an estimate, which turns into jobs, which turns into sales. Now, in order to get 80 leads, we're going to multiply that by our cost per lead down here, which tells us that it's $67 per day. Now, once you start running your ads, then you can start to adjust how these numbers actually look, right? So you may discover that your cost per lead is actually $15, not $25. That's going to change this equation. You may discover that your cost per lead is not $25, okay, but it's $50. However, they're higher quality leads, and therefore instead of 25% turning into an estimate, 50% end up turning into an estimate, which means that you actually need to get less leads, which means that, I think it would just be 40 here, right? But in order for that to happen, 40. So what this means is this math here, the $67 a day, stayed the same, because yes, our cost per lead doubled, but so did the lead to estimate ratio. To take this even further, if, for example, your booking rate went from 50% to 75%, let's call it, then that's going to change all of these numbers as well. Because what this means is that in order to book 10 jobs, no longer would we need to do 20 bids, right? But we would do 10 divided by 0.75. That means that we would need to do like 13 bids in order to book 10 jobs. And then if we only need to book 13 bids, let's call it like 14 just for easier math, and then keeping all of this other stuff kind of the same here, in order to get 14 bids, that means that we would need to get 28 leads now. Okay, because in order to do 14 bids to book 10 jobs, right, that means that if our lead to estimate ratio is 50%, that we would need to get 28, because 14 times 2 is 28. Now, 28 times 50, I can't do that in my head. 28 times 50 is 1,400, right? So 1,400 divided by 30 is $46 per day. 46 per day, or 1,400 per month. So this is why it all depends. And the truth is that a lot of marketing results actually have nothing to do with this marketing side down here. It really comes down to your booking rate. It comes down to how good are you at sales, right? Can you get more work for every client that you're working with? Can you upsell if you're a painting company? Can you add an extra bedroom to every job? Can you, upsell the windows when you're doing the siding, right? Those sorts of things, right? That's where the math starts happening. And then like this, the lead to estimate ratio, it's not just about the quality of the ads. Okay, this a lot of times has to do with, do you call your leads? And when they don't answer, do you shoot them a text? Do you leave them a voicemail? Do you call them again later that day, and 2 more times the next day, and 2 more times the day after that, and 2 more times the day after that? Do you follow up and follow up and follow up? Because just changing this number here, if you can take this from 25 to 50, you'll have to spend half as much on your marketing just by calling your leads or by having automatic follow-up systems using like a piece of tech, right? That's how the math behind Facebook ads really works. So if this was helpful for you, please leave a comment down below. Let me know. I know this can feel overwhelming at times. You might need to watch it a couple of times, but it really is quite simple once you got the hang of it. And yeah, I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.